Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, I'm bringing you guys a 14-team PPR draft recap from one of my home leagues that drafted a couple of days ago before the Leonard Fournette news ended up happening. So he ends up getting drafted relatively high in this draft, and as you guys know, he ends up getting moved to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers after they end up cutting him. So we're going to be talking about that in this video. So before I get into the video, I'd like to ask you guys, could please go down below and click that subscribe button. I produce content every single day to help you guys win your 2020 Fantasy Football Championship. So without further ado, let's get into this video. So in the video, I'm going to be discussing every single pick that happened in this draft so you guys can get a better overall feel about how drafts are going to be happening that are home league drafts, like real people drafting, not me up against the computer, me up against real people, my friends, and how real people actually draft. So the first pick of the draft was Christian McCaffrey, which is very typical. Now, something also important to note of this league, we did expand the bench. We made it a bit deeper. We added 2 extra rounds to the draft because I felt as though we might need extra room on our bench because of Corona. I just felt that was the best move to make. I also added more IR spots to the league. I am the commissioner of my home league. We've been playing in this league for 8 years running right now. So first pick of the draft was Christian McCaffrey, followed by Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, and Alvin Kamara. Very, very normal start of the draft. Those are the big 4 guys. Now, I'm not really all too concerned about Alvin Kamara getting traded. I just don't think that he will, in my opinion. At number 5, we have Dalvin Cook, pretty typical as well. Derrick Henry, very typical. And here is where I had to make a strong decision. Now, I love Joe Mixon with all my heart, but I went with Austin Eckler because I told you guys to do this multiple times. When you're drafting in multiple leagues, you have to diversify the team that you draft. I didn't want to draft Joe Mixon in every single league where I would have had the opportunity to get him. So I said, you know what? Let me get Austin Eckler, a guy that I love a lot. I'm going to get him here in the at the 7th pick, and I'm going to make sure that I feel comfortable with my team because if Mixon busts, then he'll suck in another league too and screw me over. So I went with Austin Eckler there. I made that decision. Probably should have went with Joe Mixon realistically, but I think Austin Eckler is also one of those guys that's in contention to be one of the top 5 running backs at the end of the fantasy football season. So I'm very happy getting him there at the 7th spot. I was looking for Derrick Henry, but sadly, he went 1 spot ahead of me. So I got Austin Eckler, and then my dad, he is also in this draft, drafts Joe Mixon at the 8th spot. Then Tyreek Hill, Michael Thomas, Devontae Adams, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Josh Jacobs, and Aaron Jones closes out the first round. Aaron Jones somehow makes it into the first round. Not all that surprising considering this is a 14-team league and a lot of running backs came off the board. Plus, his performance last year was very strong. I just personally do not like that pick. And Tyreek went before Michael Thomas, which to me is very crazy in my opinion. But Jarrell is always the guy that shakes up the draft. That's his plan going into the draft, to do something a bit spicy, and it always seems to work out pretty well. So he goes with Tyreek over Michael Thomas, which is not something that I would urge you guys to do. Now, we see CEH go with pick 12. CEH literally might be the most confusing person in the first round because of where he's going to go. In some leagues, you'll see him get picked at like pick 5. Other leagues, you'll see him fall outside of the first round. So there's a lot of variance when it comes to where Mr. CEH is going to go in the draft. So now we're going to move on to round 2 and discuss that. Round 2 begins with DeAndre Hopkins. So Fat Boys Ken goes with Mr. Aaron Jones, and then comes back with DeAndre Hopkins, followed by Nick Chubb, Miles Sanders, Kenyon Drake, Pat Mahomes, Mike Evans, Julio Jones, and then we get to my pick. Now, all, in my opinion, the safest running backs of the draft are gone. They're completely off the board. Someone goes with Patrick Mahomes, which, to be fair, is something that is not really surprising at all in the 2nd or 3rd round. He's just going to go in most at-home leagues, so that didn't really shock me at all. So I was sitting down here. Kenyon Drake's gone. Nick Chubb's gone. Aaron Jones is gone. Miles Sanders is gone. So I'm sitting here, and I'm like, you know what? Let me go ahead and snag Chris Godwin of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I have him ranked as my wide receiver 5. I got him at the wide receiver 5 value. Mike Evans did end up going ahead of him, which also is not all that surprising because people might prefer Mike Evans due to the fact that, oh, he's the touchdown guy there. But to me, I loved Chris Godwin in this spot. I just see a whole lot of upside for him this season. So I went ahead and drafted Chris Godwin at pick 22 to make the beginning of my roster start with Austin Eckler and Chris Godwin. Now, after I went with Chris Godwin, the other big quarterback came off the board in Lamar Jackson, which again is not very surprising at all. This is what's going to happen in home leagues, followed by George Kittle and Travis Kelce going back-to-back, Michael Jordan 96-97, which again is not surprising. These tight ends fly off the board. In my opinion, in a 14-team league, I don't like going tight end early. I just don't. I feel like the depth or the amount of times you need your tight end to be great in a 14-team league is much lower. I don't think the positional advantage matters as much because every team is not going to be stacked. So when every team's stacked, you having that next level tight end is going to boost your team. But in a 14-team league where not everyone's team is stacked, you are not going to be needing that top tier tight end. But I understand why people pick him in the second round because he could obviously score so many points that he would help your team win on a week-to-week basis. So I understand it. After that, Jonathan Taylor came off the board, followed by Chris Carson and DJ Moore. Very early for Jonathan Taylor, but again, this is a 14-team league, so pick 26 is pretty much the third round of a normal league, so not really all that surprised that that happened, but as my running back 1 or 2, that is obviously something that I'm not necessarily trying to have, but hey, I think he will be good a couple weeks in. I'm just not sure he will be the guy that you're looking for the first couple weeks of the season due to the fact that I'm not sure that he'll be able to overtake Marlon Mack early in the season. And by early in the season, I mean like right off the rip of the season, like to start the season. At the beginning of the third round, we see Melvin Gordon come off the board, followed by Mark Andrews, Amari Cooper, Adam Thielen, Kenny Golladay, Leonard Fournette. Obviously goes pretty early here. Will he be drafted this early as a Buccaneer? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't necessarily know yet how to feel about it. There's going to be a video that I'm going to make after this for the morning, so you guys will actually be able to find my full opinion on Leonard Fournette if you watch the video. But I think he's going to be good. I'm just not sure if he's worth, as of right now, a third-round pick. But my opinion might change 30 minutes from now when I'm recording that video, so check that out. After Leonard Fournette, we see Allen Robinson. Thank you to someone for subscribing to my YouTube channel. I don't know why I have these notifications on. It makes such a loud-ass noise. Hopefully you guys did not hear that. So after I went with after Leonard Fournette came off the board, I went with Allen Robinson. Now, again, I'm one of those guys that preaches going running back hard early in the draft, but I'm also someone who preaches understanding value in the draft. If I want to get a running back here, I'm not reaching back to get a guy that I'm not as comfortable in. I did like Le'Veon Bell. I felt, hey, maybe he will fall to me in the next round, so I'm not going to pick him here, and I was wrong. He did end up going, but I wanted to make sure that I felt confident in my team, and I wouldn't have felt too confident reaching back for another guy, so I went with Allen Robinson there, one of my favorite wide receivers, a top 10 wide receiver to me, so I start off my team with Austin Eckler, I have Allen Robinson, and I have Chris Godwin, so I feel very comfortable with two guys that I think are top 10 at wide receiver, as well as a top 10, in my opinion, running back with that top 5 potential. So after that, we see A.J. Brown, followed by Le'Veon Bell, James Conner, David Johnson, Bobby Trees, Tyler Lockett, and Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz going pretty early for where I see him normally go. Now, actually not all that early. Sometimes you see him actually go right next to Mark Andrews, so not really all that surprising. No picks out here were really all that awful. Nothing that really shook it up to me that looked like a garbage pick. I mean, I don't really love James Conner or David Johnson this early, but again, it's a 14-team league. There's huge scarcity at the running back position, so I understand why people are going to be drafting those kind of a players because, hey, if you miss out on him and then you're in the 4th round and you don't end up with anyone, you're probably going to be bashing your goddamn skull in. So the 4th round begins with Keenan Allen of the LA Superchargers, followed by DJ Chark, Calvin Ridley with amazing value in the 4th round. Going surprisingly, Chark went ahead of Ridley. After that was Cooper Kupp, followed by Devin Singletary and Todd Gurley, and then Ronald Jones. Now, Ronald Jones is looking like a god-awful pick now by my dad. At the time, I felt very confident in it, but now that Leonard Fournette's there, I don't necessarily think that Rojo has no value. I still think you could start him as your flex, but no longer will Ronald Jones be one of those guys that, in my opinion, is like a running back 2 that is going to have that potential to have RB1 on a weekly basis, or could be an RB1 on a weekly basis. I don't like Devin Singletary either. I've talked about this a bunch on my channel. I just feel like they are going to be using Zach Moss too much for Devin Singletary to necessarily become the guy that you would want, and I think that all it takes is a couple of mistakes from Devin Singletary for Zach Moss to get thrown into the game a lot more, and I just think that the split is going to be much closer than most people think. I think it's going to be in Singletary's favor, obviously 55% to 45%, but I think Zach Moss will be able to do enough with his touches to make Devin Singletary feel kind of like a deflated pick in this round. Todd Gurley, I don't like due to the fact that I worry about his knee. I worry about his situation. His situation is very important. The Rams did not run the ball a super bunch amount of times, but they ran the ball a lot more than the Atlanta Falcons because the Atlanta Falcons were dead last in run play percentage last season, and I don't see that really changing considering of how pass heavy that offense is. So I don't really like Todd Gurley at all there. Ronald Jones obviously was a good pick at the time, now not seeming super hot. After that, I went with scary Terry McLaurin, Scoring McLaurin of the Washington football team. I really am high on Terry McLaurin this season. I think with the second year under Dwayne Haskins, Terry McLaurin is just going to have a much better season. He has been working hard in the offseason to become a better player. Plus, they bring in head coach Riverboat Ron from the Carolina Panthers. I think that really helps out Terry McLaurin as well, having a much better coaching scheme there in Washington. After I went with Terry McLaurin, Odell came off the board, a pick I don't like either. Not a huge fan of Odell, not due to Odell. Really, it's more due to the situation. I just feel like the Browns are going to be running the rock a whole bunch in the games. And why wouldn't they? They bring in a coach that's very run heavy and Kevin Stefanski to become their head coach of the Cleveland Browns, and they have two of the better running backs in the league, probably the best running back tandem in the league of Hunt and Chubb. So I'm just not willing to make that pick of Odell at that spot. After that, we see Juju Smith-Schuster, a guy who I'm not in love with, but I don't really hate. I feel like if Big Ben's healthy, he'll be great. If Big Ben gets hurt, he's going to be awful. So it's really just if Ben stays healthy is 100% going to determine how Juju does this season. After that, we see Cam Akers, a pick I like, rookie running back out of LA. I think this guy has a lot of upside for this season. Maybe not off the rip, Cam Akers is great, but in a couple games in, once he overtakes Darrell Henderson and becomes the head honcho back there, I think we could see Cam Akers become very dangerous this season. After that is Cortland Sutton, a guy who I'm not all that much of a fan of due to the fact I feel like there's a lot of wide receivers there. There's a lot of quote-unquote mouths to feed. I just feel like there's a lot of players there that could end up hurting him, but KJ Hamler did get hurt, so maybe, just maybe, it's going to be Cortland Sutton's season again. After that, Devontae Parker, followed by DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf, amazing value at pick 56. At 55, Devontae Parker, not a huge fan, strictly because his opening schedule is very hard, and we saw early in the season with Fitzmagic, when Preston Williams was playing, Devontae Parker was a shit show. And Preston Williams will likely be back to start week number 1. So now it is time to look into the 5th round. If you guys have enjoyed this video thus far, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. It's free, and I produce content every single day to help you guys win that 2020 Fantasy Football Championship. So the 5th round begins with Mark Ingram, who is fool's gold completely. He is a guy that, in my opinion, is going to have he had such a strong uphill climb last year because he wasn't even playing that good. He just scored a bunch of touchdowns, and if I don't really expect that many touchdowns to come to Mark Ingram again now that they brought in J.K. Dobbins, so probably not going to be worthy of a 5th round pick considering all his point total was drastically carried by the touchdown total after that. T.Y. Hilton, a guy I am not a big fan of at all. Not really the fact that the player's bad. I just worry about the injury concerns, so he's off my board in most leagues. At pick 59, we see Raheem Mostert, a guy who I'm also kind of off the board on due to the fact that he's a running back by committee system there. Tyler Boyd, a guy I really like. Dak, Hollywood Brown, and then I went with James White, so I was pretty happy, honestly, that Leonard Fournette did not get signed to the New England Patriots. Really helps out this squad. For me, I think James White, super safe pick inside of the middle rounds, a guy who I think is going to be seeing a lot of dump-offs for the team and has been that top 12 guy in the past, followed by DeAndre Swift, Deshaun Watson, Stephon Diggs, Kareem Hunt, David Montgomery, Zach Moss, and Michael Gallup. Zach Moss at pick 69. Very nice. A huge reach for Zach Moss, though. He's more of like a 9th round pick, 8th round pick. Picking him in the 5th round is kind of crazy, but hey, I love Zach Moss, so maybe, just maybe, that will pay off for them. We saw a bunch of quarterbacks go in this round. Let's see, we saw Deshaun, and we saw Dak as well, so the quarterbacks were starting to fly off the board, and I believe it's either next round, one of these rounds, we see a bunch of quarterbacks go again. To start off the 6th round, we see Russell Wilson come off the board, followed by Julian Edelman, Marvin Jones, Tariq Cohen, Darren Waller, Phillip Lindsay, J.K. Dobbins, and I went with Jordan Howard. Now, this is definitely a reach. I understand that. Jordan Howard does go much later, but I feel like if I didn't start bolstering my backup running backs here after going wide receiver heavy to start off the draft, I just would have been absolutely disappointed if one of my guys ended up getting hurt, and then my team would have looked absolutely dog shit because of it. So I went and reached and got Jordan Howard, a guy I feel like in a 14-team league, could be a comfortable running back too in a lot of scenarios. He has been an over 1,000-yard rusher before in the NFL, so I would not be all that surprised if he was able to put up that kind of accolade in Miami. At 79, but he does not have really any pass-catching opportunity there because Breida's there, and Jordan Howard really has no fucking hands whatsoever. He has stone hands. So at pick 79, we see Will Fuller, followed by Eazy-E, Evan Ingram, Kyler Murray, Christian Kirk, the two teammates going back-to-back, Jarvis Landry, and Tyler Higbee. Now, a lot of quarterbacks have came off the board. That's another 2 in this round, and it just kept on going, I believe, as the rounds went on. In round 7, we began with CeeDee Lamb. Again, a rookie getting taken far too high, but is it really far too high since this is a 14-team league? Maybe not. He does have a lot of upside. I will not argue against that. I just don't know if he's worth a 7th round pick with other guys that were on the board. After that, Carry On, which is just a bad pick in my opinion. I think DeAndre Swift being there is just going to completely derail Kerryon Johnson, and the only chance of Kerryon being any good is if he can stay healthy and DeAndre Swift stays out of the games. After that, we see Marlon Mack, who's a pick I don't like all that much, followed by Brandon Cooks, who I like, Matt Breida, Tevin Coleman, who I like, and then I went with Deontay Johnson there at pick 91. I just said, you know what? I want to get another wide receiver, not super comfortable in the running back core going around here, so let me snag a guy with a lot of upside in Pittsburgh. Now, this pick, just like with Juju, 100% relies on Big Ben's health. If Big Ben gets whacked, if he gets hurt like Tony fucking Soprano, if he gets whacked like that, then you don't want Deontay Johnson on your team, because I don't think he'll be all that good with Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph. Now, he kind of was last year, so it is possible that he's good, but I think with Big Ben, if he develops that connection, Deontay Johnson could be absolutely lethal in my lineup, whereas without Big Ben, I think he's more of just a flex play, whereas Deontay Johnson, I believe, could emerge and become a wide receiver 2 for fantasy football. At 92, my dad goes with Matty Ice, Matt Ryan. Again, someone fucking subscribes to the channel. Thank you to whoever did that. I have no idea how to turn the alert noise off, because it just, for some reason, never turns off if I put it to 0. So sorry about that. Again, after Matt Ryan, who I like a lot, I see top 5 quarterback upside with him. After that, we see Rob Gronkowski, followed by AJ Green. Now, AJ Green really falling back. I mean, I thought that in these normal leagues with my friends, someone's going to bite the fucking bullet and take him early, but no one does it. People are all fading him. So very nice getting him in the 7th round. Would I do it? Fuck no. But there's obviously upside there with a guy with the talent of AJ Green, but the guy always ends up hurt. After that, Jamison Crowder. Here a reach for Antonio Gibson. But hey, I mean, this guy is one of those sleepers that is going to get talked the fuck up and get drafted so high, and that's what ended up happening in this draft. After that was Josh Allen and Damian Harris, another guy that got talked up a lot and got picked super high, so maybe it isn't all that bad of a pick, because I think Antonio Gibson could be very good for the Washington football team. I just don't think it's going to be early in the season. Round 8, we see a handcuff here of Tony Pollard for Ezekiel Elliott, then Darius Slayton, Drew Brees, John Brown, Sterling Shepard, Jared Cook, Tom Brady. So my dad went with 2 quarterbacks back-to-back, Michael Jordan, 96, 97. I knew that he was going to panic, and he did. That's a panic move, in my opinion. I would not have done that. I was eyeing Tom Brady, and he picked him. So I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and snag Hayden Hurst of the Atlanta Falcons. I love Hayden Hurst, one of my favorite tight ends this year. Top 5 upside for me in the Atlanta offense that is going to be throwing the ball a shit ton. Dirk Cutter loves to get the tight end involved, and this is going to be a dangerous offense to stop in 2020. At 107, we see Mike Gesicki, followed by the 49ers defense, which is by far the worst pick of the draft. Even with me hating some of these players and me not feeling like they're going to have a good season, they actually have potential. The 49ers defense is just a joke drafting a defense early, so don't be doing that. After that, we see Hunter Henry, Sony Michel, Adrian Peterson, and Ron Rodgers. A little early for Rodgers, in my opinion. I don't see top 12 potential for him due to how much they are going to be running the ball, in my opinion, in Green Bay. Round 9 now in the draft. We are about halfway through the draft, so again, if you guys have enjoyed, please make sure to click that subscribe button down below. It's free, and I put out that content every single day so that you guys can win that 2020 Fantasy Football Championships. The 9th round starts off with another handcuff of Alexander Mattison for Dalvin Cook, followed by Jalen Reagor. Pretty early now, considering Reagor is probably going to miss a couple of games. A.J. Dillon, Deebo Samuel, which is definitely a steal in the 9th round. I'm really starting to rise up more on him and feel more confident in drafting him, considering maybe he plays week 1. After that, we see Harrison Butker the fucker. Don't draft a kicker early at all, in my opinion. It just really screws the value of your team. You could have a running back here, wide receiver here, but instead now in the last round, you're going to be getting that wide receiver or running back where you could have had the kicker, and the value kind of offsets itself there. It's not really worth it, in my opinion. If you're going to draft Butker early, I'd say you'd have to do it at least in the 10th plus round. So after that, we see Anthony Miller. I went with McCole Hardman. I went with a high upside wide receiver. I felt very comfortable with my wide receiver core, given I drafted a bunch of them early. So I said, you know what? Let me get a firecracker for my flex, a guy I believe could have those games where he absolutely skull fucks my opponent, hits him with the back shots, hits him with the 1-2 Mayweather, and I think that's the guy that is going to be able to do that for the Kansas City Chiefs. Super speedster. After that, we see Jerry Jeudy. 3rd leg, Greg Olsen. Pretty early for him. Very surprised that he even got drafted, if I'm being honest with you. But hey, if he could stay healthy, which he hasn't done in a while, maybe he'll be good with Russell Wilson. After that, we see Henry Ruggs, Carson Wentz, Emmanuel Sanders, Chase Edmonds, and Jerick McKinnon. So all the quarterbacks pretty much are gone now. We kind of get into the barren wasteland inside of the 10th round. The 10th round is brought to you guys by Manscaped.com. If you guys want to have the nicest looking family jewels in your league, if you want your razor to be safer than drafting Christian McCaffrey at the 101, then make sure to check out manscaped.com. Use code Notorious at checkout for 20% off, as well as free shipping. So back into the video. At round 10, we see Bryce Love come off the board. The love for him is unreal. People were talking him up, and now he's kind of falling down. So I don't know what to think about Bryce Love. I'd prefer to draft Gibson. After that, we see Johnys Smith, but Gibson was already gone. Golden Tate, Austin Hooper, Preston Williams, Baltimore Ravens defense. Noah Fant. I went with Matt Stafford. I felt like he was the last guy, the last option before it really turned to shit, and I wouldn't be as confident in the guy. Matthew Stafford, when healthy, was a fantastic quarterback last season. He was on MVP pace. He was looking like the best Matt Stafford we've ever seen. So I figured, you know what? Let me snag him at pick 134. After that, we see Sammy Watkins, Darrell Henderson, Latavius Murray, which actually is hilarious because he ended up drafting Alvin Kamara and gets Latavius Murray. So this could have actually been the perfect scenario if Kamara ended up leaving the team, because then he could potentially have 2 running back ones, because if Kamara is gone, if he ends up getting traded, which I still do not understand why he would get traded. I don't think he's going to. I think his home is in New Orleans, but if he was to get traded, then this would have been an even better team, because you could have potentially had 2 running back ones, because when Kamara was out last year, Latavius Murray was going 9 inches deep like Nick Foles in the opponent. After that, we see Keyshawn Vaughn, followed by, whose role is now completely gone, Ryan Tannehill, and Chris Herndon, who a lot of people are getting super high on. For the Jets, I was high on him last year. I'm kind of rising up more on him this season. To start off round 11, we see rookie wide receiver Justin Jefferson, followed by Danny Dimes, Blake Jarwin very early for him, followed by Brandon Ayuk, TJ Hawkinson, Boston Scott, and I went with Duke Johnson. There wasn't really too many running backs still available, and I said, you know what? If David Johnson was to go down, they're going to have to use Duke Johnson. Even though they didn't really use him correctly last year, he was still fine in multiple spots in a PPR league where he scores like 9, 10 points, and in a 14-team league, in certain weeks, that could be all you need to win in a 14-team league. So I'm going to say, you know what, fuck it, and I'm going to draft him. So I drafted him there, and I felt like I need more running backs here. We saw Mike Williams, Will Lutz, Justin Jackson, Pittsburgh Steelers defense, which again is early, Naheem Hines, N'Keal Harry, and Big Ben Roethlisberger. So nothing really too out of the ordinary happened in this draft. I didn't really see too many reaches inside of the draft, which did surprise me. My friends are very sharp now. They've gotten really good at drafting, so huge applause to them. So now into the 12th round of the draft. The 12th round begins with the Buffalo Bills defense. Again, people picking defenses and kickers early. Not really a good idea, in my opinion. I typically wait till the end. After that, we see Curtis Samuel, who's just a complete and utter waste of a pick, followed by Jackie Jack Doyle, who I like, Justin Tucker the fucker, Baker Mayfield, Wham Bam, Cam Newton, Deshaun Jackson, who's an excellent draft pick, because week 1, this guy legitimately just always destroys. And it's a revenge game week 1 up against the Washington football team. In revenge games, he averages over 95-plus yards in revenge games, so Deshaun Jackson's a very good start for week 1. After that, I went with Gardner Minshew. I felt like we had a deep-ass bench in this league. If I didn't draft 2 quarterbacks, I felt like no one would come back to me to be my backup quarterback on the waiver wire, so that's the scenario that I do it. I don't do it in most leagues, but in a 14-team league, I feel like you're going to be screwing yourself if you don't go ahead and draft a backup running back. So again, that noise scared the fuck out of me. I need to figure out how to turn it off. So after I went with Gardner Minshew, the Patriots defense came off the board, followed by Joe Burrow, Joshua Kelly, Jared Goff, Ian Thomas, and Robbie Anderson of the now Carolina Panthers. Round 13 begins. We're really in the shit show at the running back, or at the wide receiver position, the running back position. So I understand if you guys want to skip later into the video, because at the end of the video, we are going to be doing team grades where I grade every single team in this draft and talk about my overall feeling of each given team. So we start off here with pick 169 of the 13th round with the New Orleans Saints defense, followed by Brashad Perryman, Kirk Cousins. You like that? Kirk Cousins legitimately yesterday said that about the coronavirus, he said about playing in it, if I die, I die. I almost respect that. I love that, Kirk Cousins, honestly. That's a GOAT maneuver right there. Die for the love of the game. I don't think that's what he meant, though. I think he believes in, he's religious, so, if he dies, he'll be fine with death. I think that's what he meant, to be honest with you. After that, the Chargers defense absolutely sniped my ass, but I wasn't going to pick him that early. Michael Pittman, LaShawn McCoy, who's now fucking irrelevant as fuck because of Fournette. Alan Lazard is who I went with there. Wasn't sure who to go with. I wanted to take someone who I felt like I could play on a weekly basis in the flex. Now, Aaron Rodgers was talking out Marquez Valdes-Scantling yesterday. He was talking him up, chirping all the shit about how great he is. Rodgers did the same thing last year, and MVS did nothing. Lazard actually did something last year. So I'm going to continue to stay on the Lazard train, and I took him there in the 13th round. My dad went with Rock Armstead before any of this happened, which is just an amazing of a pick right there, followed by Alshon Jeffrey, Robbie Gould, Dallas Goedert, Chris Thompson, another amazing pick because Leonard Fournette is gone, followed by Rashad Penny and Mohamed Sanu, who ended up getting cut yesterday to make room for Leonard Fournette, but they didn't even fucking bring in Leonard Fournette, so I don't know why they cut him. Just an absolute failed experiment by Coach Belichick over there in New England, bringing a guy in for a second-round pick, and he's not even any good. The 14th round begins with Carlos Hyde, and this is just backup running backs going off the board here. Darrell Williams, D.D. Westbrook, Jimmy Garoppolo, Kansas City Chiefs, DeAndre Washington, Darrington Evans. I went with Darwin Thompson. 3 Chiefs running backs came off the board here. Just kidding, only 2. I said, you know what, let me snag another one of them. Let me get Darwin Thompson. Maybe he'll become the running back too. I have no idea. After that was Eric Ebron, followed by third leg, Greg Zuerlein, Matt Prater, Anthony McFarland, shout out to Booger's son, Giovanni Bernard, and Zane Gonzalez. Now on to the 15th round of the draft. Larry Fitzgerald, followed by Cole Beasley, Dallas Cowboys defense, Teddy Roosevelt. It was definitely a steal later in the draft since I think he's going to be very accurate. I just don't see him throwing a lot of touchdowns. Unless Christian McCaffrey, he just throws it to him and he takes like 4 to the house during a game, which is definitely possible. The Vikings defense, Randall Cobb, Kaimi Fairbairn, Tennessee Titans, Dwayne Haskins, Steven Sims, Jamal Williams, Jake Elliott, my old bitch lame, but my young Hoku, and Mason Crosby. So who did I take in this round? I took a kicker. I went against myself. I said, you know what, we're in the 15th round, I'm going to take a kicker. And I'm not even going to judge myself, even though I normally wait till the last 2 picks of the draft. I went ahead and did it 1 pick early, so fucking sue me, okay? After I went with that, round 16 begins with Irv Smith, followed by John Ross, the Sauce Boss, defense, Jimmy Graham, defense, Matt Gay, who's now cut, probably from the team because they signed someone else. I went with the Eagles defense going up against the Redskins week 1, which I thought would be pretty solid. Jason Myers, Paris Campbell, MVS, so someone ended up picking him. Shout out to Connor for getting that. Dawson, Knox one time if you're with me. Chicago Bears, Hunter Renfro, and the 17th round, the final round of the draft, is Ito Smith, Joey Sly, Dan Bailey, Titty Boy T. Higgins, Jalen Rager, James Washington. I went with Jay Sternberger to be my backup tight end. Cameron Brate, Tua Tagovailoa, Danny Amendola, Royce Freeman, Devontae Freeman, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the last pick of the draft, Mr. Irrelevant, very honorable that it was Antonio Brown. Will he play this year? I have no idea. I believe that he's suspended to start the year if he plays, so I don't know. I really don't know what to do with Antonio Brown. I probably just wouldn't have picked him, but in this type of a deep format, won't judge anyone. So now we're going to go ahead and take a look at each and every single team inside of this league. So we're going to go all the way to the top with me. That's team number 1. I chase young kids. Get it? It's a funny name. Chase young kids. Get it? It's a fucking joke. I don't actually do that. Just so you know. So, now we're going to look at my team. My quarterback is Matthew Stafford. My running backs are James White and Austin Eckler. Wide receivers are Allen Robinson and Chris Godwin. My tight end is Hayden Hurst. And my flex is Terry McLaurin. Again, understand that this is a 14-team league, so getting a real star-studded roster is harder, so I believe that I did a good job there with my starters. I think my bench is solid as well. I got Gardner Minshew, Jordan Howard, Duke Johnson, Darwin Thompson, McCole Hardman, Deontay Johnson, Alan Lazard, and Jay Sternberger. I don't love Sternberger, but hey, he was like a late-round flyer that I just said fuck it on. I think my team overall is pretty good. I think my team would have looked better had I been able to snag a second running back earlier in the draft in the second round, but it didn't go my way, so I went with Chris Godwin. You got to understand when to pivot, and that's what I did, so I think I ended up with a very solid squad. Not going to go ahead and give myself like an A+ or something. Could have done slightly better on quarterback. But I do really like my team. I think the bench, there are some guys, Darwin Thompson, who I'm not sure. He's probably going to get cut a couple weeks in anyways for my team. So I think my team's pretty good. I'd give myself an B+ to A- range. I think I had a very good draft, though. Was very confident with it, especially in a 14-team league. Now on to my arch rival, Johnny Team, making it Wanye of Johnny's team. So here we're going to be looking at Drew Brees, Mike Evans, CH, Robert Woods, Calvin Ridley, Jack Doyle, and Marvin Jones. Very solid starting roster for a 14-team league. This team is going to be tough to beat week 1. I think it's very good. Jack Doyle, obviously, probably the most unsexy pick in the draft. That's just what he is, but he's a safe pick because Phillip Rivers loves that tight end. There's no reason why he would have 11 fucking kids if he didn't love that tight end, if you know what I'm saying. So after that, Devontae Freeman, Antonio Gibson, Naheem Hines, David Montgomery, Chris Thompson, Emmanuel Sanders, Golden Tate, D.D. Westbrook. So the bench kind of sus, but does have a few players that I like. So I think Johnny's team is also very good. B+ to B grade for me. Really like that team. Next, team 2 girlies, 1 cup. Starts off with quarterback Kirk Cousins. You like that. Raheem Mostert and Ezekiel Elliott. Amari Cooper is his wide receiver 1. Cortland Sutton, Blake Jarwin, Christian Kirk. Could you have guessed that he likes the Dallas Cowboys? A 1, a 2, a 3 on his team? And is there 1 on his bench? Surprised. I thought there was 1 on his bench. His bench is comprised of Jared Goff, A.J. Dillon, Marlon Mack, Anthony McFarland, Sony Michel, Jonathan Taylor, Keshawn Vaughn, and Josh Reynolds. Bench very heavily invested in some rookie running backs. I respect that. Pretty okay team. Nothing super exciting for me, but not a team I see being really shit either. This is a team that, in my opinion, based off what I looked at, not as good as me and Johnny's team, but still pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a B- for me. C+, B-. Not the greatest bench, but obviously, just so you guys understand, when I'm giving team grades, they really have nothing to do with what's going to happen at the end of the season because we are all very active on the waiver wire. So our teams are going to look very different, and people trade a lot too in this league. So now, looking at my dad's team, Luca Brazzi, we got quarterback Matt Ryan, Joe Mixon, Ronald Jones, which obviously now Ronald Jones is looking like a dumpster fire of a pick, but he could probably start him as his flex or as his running back too, since this is a 14-team league, and not be too pissed about it. He does have Julio Jones, though, and Matt Ryan on the same team, which is an excellent connection, followed by A.J. Brown, Noah Fant, and DeAndre Swift to close out the squad. He's got TB12 on the bench, Rock Armstead, J.K. Dobbins, Darrington Evans, Deshaun Jackson, call me Miss Jackson, Jerry Jeudy, Mike Williams, Cameron Brate. Excellent bench. Should probably not have drafted Tom Brady. Should probably have went with a skill player at that pick. Team would have looked so much better, in my opinion, if he did that. This team is missing a guy like maybe a running back, maybe a wide receiver, and this team would be great. Instead of Tom Brady, you replace him with someone going in that range. I think it would have just looked much better. This is a B-. No, this is a B team. B to B+. I really like the way my dad constructed this team. Next team here, Nick Top, Cat Bottom. Not talking about me. Again, the goddamn fucking noise. I'm so sorry if you guys can hear that. I have to figure that out before I record again. It's because so many people are subscribing because we're like a week away from most drafts happening and a couple days off of kickoff. So I hope you guys are excited for that. I'm very excited as well. So quarterback Carson Wentz from Mike. He's got Carson Wentz for quarterback, David Johnson, and Kenyon Drake. Very, very funny. Not funny because they're bad or something. It's funny because it's Kenyon Drake and David Johnson, and Kenyon Drake stole David Johnson's job last year. David Johnson's a guy that I'm like indifferent on. Like, I like him. I think he'll be fine. But if he gets hurt, he's a complete waste of the pick. But if he doesn't get hurt, he could be very good. After that, we see Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, Austin Hooper, and Kareem Hunt. Hate Austin Hooper. So off of Austin Hooper this year. People are drafting him based upon his value from last season of being one of the top 5 tight ends, and why he was one was because he was Atlanta. Not because he's super good, but because he was in Atlanta, and now he's going to a runner-heavy type of team, so I don't really like that. Jimmy Guap on the bench, Tariq Cohen, Royce Freeman, Jamal Williams, John Brown, Jamison Crowder, and Dallas Goedert to complete the bench. Overall, pretty solid team. I don't think Royce Freeman or Jamal Williams are even worth rostering, but I understand why you roster them, because you need running backs, and if something was to happen to the other guys, there's potential for him to move up. Pretty solid team here. Another B team. I mean, a lot of these teams are just looking pretty fucking solid, so I'm wondering where people went wrong. So maybe we'll see it soon, some teams that aren't as good. Here, we see Soul Survivors, Jarrell, the man who drafted Tyreek Hill in the first round. So much respect for that. Gotta love the upside there. After that, we see Deshaun Watson to start off his team, followed by Le'Veon Bell and Todd Gurley. He has the running back core that was amazing 3 years ago. He does. Remember Le'Veon Bell when he was on the Steelers? Remember Todd Gurley 2 years ago before his knee was fucked up? Amazing. I like Le'Veon Bell. I don't like Todd Gurley. That's my opinion on that. I like Mike Evans. I like Tyreek Hill. Jared Cook is just a super safe tight end. Not really super high upside, just a safe guy. And then Alshon Jeffrey on the flex, which is just something you can't do. But he doesn't really have too many guys that he could play on his flex. Maybe put in Phillip Lindsay or something. But he has Dwayne Haskins, Cam Newton, Tua Tagovailoa, Phillip Lindsay, DeAndre Swift, Rob Gronkowski, Greg Olsen. Has too many tight ends, too many quarterbacks. Get rid of a bunch of those guys, and your team will look much better. Maybe he's trying to trade. Maybe he's waiting for Tua to come onto the field and ball out. Then he ships Tua out. That would 100% make sense. Maybe that's what he's doing. Don't love it. Don't hate it. This is a C+ for me. Next team, Good As Gould. Get it? Good as Gold. Good as Gould. His team starts off with Patrick Mahomes, followed by James Conner, Devin Singletary, Stephon Diggs, Michael Thomas, Darren Waller, and A.J. Green. I hate Devin Singletary with a burning passion. Hate A.J. Green with a burning passion. His bench is comprised of Baker Mayfield, Justin Jackson, Danny Amendola, Henry Ruggs, Sterling Shepard, Steven Sims, Preston Williams, and Jimmy Graham. Wait a second. What the hell? Sorry if I had like a long pause there. He only has 3 running backs and 2 that are going to be starting. Yeah, I don't like that at all. This team's probably good if their team can stay healthy. If not, this is going to be a bottom feeder. This is a C- to D+ in my opinion, but obviously you can change your grade by being good in the season, by picking people up. So don't get pissed off if I give you a bad grade. I'm sorry. I love all these guys. These guys are all my friends. So Tame Ken, Fat Boy's the guy who won the league last season, has Russell Wilson, followed by Jerick McKinnon, Aaron Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, Michael Gallup, Zach Ertz, and Keenan Allen. Now, camp is looking like Michael Gallup might be the wide receiver 1 over Amari Cooper, strictly off of the plays this guy's making. Don't be surprised if that happens. Don't be surprised if CeeDee Lamb is the number 1 wide receiver. Don't be surprised if it's Amari Cooper. To me, it's like a 3-headed thing. It's like Russian roulette. It's going to be super confusing what's going to happen there. I think it's going to be a different guy on a week-to-week basis, but I don't know. I mean, it's very confusing. I think all the guys have a lot of upside due to the fact that Dallas is going to be throwing the ball a lot. Bench comprised of Big Ben, Damian Harris, which was a snipe from me. I really wanted him. Carlos Hyde, Bryce, Love, Tony Pollard, Antonio Brown, Mohamed Sanu, who he's going to cut, obviously, and Irv Smith. Pretty solid team. B- for me because I don't love Jerick McKinnon. I like Jerick McKinnon. I just don't like that he has to start Jerick McKinnon. So that's kind of my issue there. He does have a lot of high upside running backs, though, on the bench. So if those guys were to hit, this could be a good team. Next team here, full of beans. Nick goes with Dak Prescott, Dalvin Cook, Matt Breida, Kenny Golladay, Juju Smith-Schuster, George Kittle, and Evan Ingram. Bench comprised of Joe Burrow, Darrell Henderson, Jalen Richard, Paris Campbell, Michael Pittman, TJ Hawkinson. Has 2 kickers, has 2 defenses, instantly shoots you into like the C category. Not that bad of a starting team. Okay, bench. This is a C- to me. Could have been probably a B- or a C+, but you draft 2 kickers, you draft 2 defenses. That's just not ideal at all. So I dock you a grade. Next, here we see the Lombardi Trophy. Josh has Ryan Tannehill, Chris Carson, Saquon Barkley, T.Y. Hilton, Devontae Parker, Mark Andrews, and Jarvis Landry. Pretty solid starting lineup. Not in love with Ryan Tannehill, though. Danny Dimes on the bench, obviously, in case something happens to him, or in case Danny Dimes does have a pretty shit first couple weeks matchups. But after that, I think he's going to be flying high in fantasy. After that, we see Gio Bernard, Kerryon Johnson, Adrian Peterson, Cole Beasley, Rashad Perriman, Jalen Reagor, Ian Thomas. Some kind of high upside players on the bench. So I do like this team overall. Probably give this one a B- for Josh and the Lombardi Trophy. Next team up here is Le'Veon La Vida Loca. Georgia's team is comprised of Aaron Rodgers, Melvin Gordon, Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, Hunter Renfro, Tyler Higbee, and DK Metcalf. Now, in my opinion, it's very hard to fuck up a team with Christian McCaffrey, and George did exactly that. No, I'm just fucking kidding. That was a joke because I hounded him in our other league video, and I gave him a D, and he was very pissed off about that. So, looking at his bench, Mark Ingram, Alexander Madison, Ito Smith, Robbie Anderson, Larry Fitzgerald, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Chris Herndon. Pretty solid team overall. Don't think you need to be starting Renfro. You could probably put in someone different, but I'm not going to tell you how to set your lineup. That's just how I feel. The solid team, C+ for me, for George over there. Next team, the co-owned team of Kevin and Ravi, Dax, Darlings. For them, they got quarterback Josh Allen. Running backs are Nick Chubb and Josh Jacobs. So very dangerous running back core. Tyler Lockett, DJ Chark, Janu Smith, and Julian Edelman. This is a perfect draft. Perfect start to the draft. If I'm being completely honest with you, this is the best team I've seen. Kevin watches all my videos, so not very surprising that he'd be able to construct such a roster against me of the guys that I like. So I really respect that. This is an excellent team there for the starters. Bench, pretty solid as well. Got guys like Chase Edmonds, Zach Moss, Rashad Penny, Darrell Williams, N'Keal Harry, John Ross. I don't like Curtis Samuel at all. And Darius Slayton. So overall, very good team. This team is an A to me. Maybe even an A+. This is excellent. Very, very good. Next team here, we have my ball, Zach Ertz. Get it? My ball, Zach Ertz. Of David. Next team here, we're going to obviously break down David's team. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Leonard Fournette. Cut, obviously. Now becomes a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. Is this good for David? Probably not. I'd prefer him on Jacksonville. But is it the worst? No. So it's going to be okay. He's going to be able to start him. Odell Beckham Jr., Hollywood Brown, Mike Gesicki, Will Fuller, bench, Tevin Coleman, LaShawn McCoy, Boston Scott, Randall Cobb, Anthony Miller, James Washington, Sammy Watkins, Eric Ebron. Fucking star-studded bench here from David. Excellent bench. This is a very good bench. Pretty good starting team. Honestly, very surprising. When you go Lamar Jackson early, your team typically doesn't come out looking like this. Now, I don't like Odell. I don't love Will Fuller. I don't love some of the pieces on his bench, but he went with the upside plays. He played this very, very well. Another great team here with an A- for David. And final team on the pecking order, DDD's nuts. Get it? Like DD Westbrook, DD's nuts. Connor. Quarterback, Kyler Murray. Running backs are Alvin Kamara and Cam Akers. Wide receivers are Adam Thielen and Tyler Boyd. Travis Kelce and Brandon Cooks. Now, he drafted using my draft guide. When you draft using my fucking draft guide, this is what happens. Magnifique team right there. Bench, Teddy Bridgewater, Josh Kelly, Latavius Murray, Brandon Ayuk, T. Higgins, MVS, Hunter Henry, Deebo Samuel. Pretty okay bench as well. Definitely a solid team. This one is a B+ to A- grade. So that is all the teams of this video in my league. I hope you guys made it this far. You're probably like 35 minutes in. Maybe even 40 minutes in if I'm being completely honest with you. So I hope you guys did end up having a great time in this video. I hope I didn't blow your ears out with the alert box going off of someone fucking subscribing to my channel. So you can make that noise now by hitting that subscribe button. I love each and every single one of you guys, and I'll see you guys later with more videos today. I love you all. Have a great rest of your guys' day. And as always, manscaped.com. Promo code Notorious Fantasy for 20% off as well as free shipping. I love you all, and I'll see you motherfuckers later. Goodbye.